The gospel today comes from Luke chapter 1.
Glory to you, Lord.
But the angel assured her, Mary, you have nothing to fear. God has a surprise for you. You will become pregnant and give birth to a son, and call his name Jesus. He will be great and be called the Son of the Highest. The Lord will give him the throne of his father David. He will rule Jacob's house forever, no end ever to his kingdom. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you.
Today's message, Karen had right along with what God was telling me earlier this morning, as I was reading some of the commentaries about this passage. I noticed that David had been, the Israelites had been carrying around the ark, and there was really no tabernacle. They were carrying around a tent, and they were carrying around for all this time since the ark was created. They were carrying God around with them all where they went. And when David came to Jerusalem and basically conquered it and took it over, he found that he was like, God, God's in a town. I should build a nice house for you. But God had other plans. God, in his infinite wisdom, his infinite grace, said, no, let me, God, for me, God's promise to David was, David, let me carry you. Let me, you've carried me for so long. Let me carry you, and let me give you a gift. And the gift was the promise that Jesus would come, and Jesus would be born. What a promise! What an amazing thing. But we look at what we have. And I look at how we can make God trust God. David trusted God, and that's what made him such a unique individual. He trusted him. He obeyed him. He fought with him sometimes, just like we all do. But the promise was that he was going to be the father of God's only Son, made manifest here on earth. The foundation for where we stand today, the foundation for all of our lives, the foundation of the world. God was promising to David. What does that mean to us? Thanks. God is a good God. God is a powerful God. God is a mighty God. And God is a gracious God. And God is such a loving God that he decided to say, no, let your sons build a temple. I need you for a better mission. And I'm sure David was thinking, at the time, wait, I don't get it. I don't understand. I admit that I'm placed in situations that I don't always understand. Sometimes I don't know how to respond to certain situations. But the Spirit, the grace of God, comes and grants me some minute level of understanding and some minute level of grace. And that peace, that grace is evident in the story because David did what God expected, and and the blessing is, look at what we have today. Look at where we have the world we have. Despite all the darkness, love still remains. Love, and love is the true power and the true gift that I think God granted to David. God promised to David in that moment. God promised, I'm going to love you forever, and I'm going to love your family forever, and I'm going to make one of your descendants so special that it's going to change the world. And it happened. And it is such a small, it seems such a small little thing, but it is so huge. The gift of hope, the gift of faith, the gift of love. That's what God promised. That's what God promised to David. That's how I sense it. I trust that God has gifted us all with the fact that we're here, we're alive, we're breathing, we're singing, we're praising, we're worshiping Him, we're enjoying His company, we're enjoying His presence. Yes, we have a nice little house we have for Him, but I'd like to meet God out there, in the street, with the folks. I meet God in some of the most unique and darkest of places. I see God. I see God coming through. I see God in every moment. In an act of kindness. In a gentle hug. Sometimes I found God in a simple smile when I was so frustrated and angry at the world, and all I wanted was someone just to smile at me. And when that smile came, my attitude softened, my attitude changed. We are in a gracious space. We are in a tumultuous time. But God's promise to David is He brought Jesus Christ to us. And Jesus Christ is here today. He lives, He breathes by the power of the Holy Spirit in every single one of us. And he even breathes, and I've even seen people who say, I don't believe in God. I've seen them show me a side of God that I don't always see. Sometimes I choose to be blind to, just because we're human. But the Spirit is powerful, God is powerful. And God's promise to David was that you would be known. And you would be a better person for where God took him. He was a better person. We all are better people for where God takes us. We just have to trust in the process and trust that God knows, God's got a plan. He knows the outcome. I'm terrified of the outcome. If I think about it in my own selfish, personal way, I'm terrified of the outcome. I don't know where God is going. So I trust. I trust the Spirit. I trust the gift. I trust the promise of the promise of David. I trust in Jesus Christ. I trust in the Spirit. I don't always trust myself. But I trust that I have other people, fellow believers, who will remind me of God's love and God's forgiveness, and remind me that there's always hope, even in the darkest of times. And that ends my sermon.